Let's look at integrating ArborXR with Scenario VR such that you can not only synchronize the application in Scenario VR, but you can also synchronize the content as well as configure how that content will work. So when you're working with ArborXR, the first thing you need to do is get your devices in. So I've already done that. I've synchronized one device into my system. Obviously, you would do that for as many devices as you have. And then in order to sync in apps and content, you then create a group. In this time, I'm going to create a group. I'm just going to call that ELB. And you have to say which device type will be in that group. In this case, I'm going to be syncing a MetaQuest Pro. It will then go ahead and create that group. Okay, I then need to add that device to that group. And that's the device I've already added in. Add that device to that group. And now I've got my group configure the device. Now anything I add to that group will be added to that device. But before we can configure content in that device, we need to add that content in. So let's go ahead and add it into our content library. The first thing we're going to do is add a managed app. We do that by adding an app in, and we select managed app, and in this case it's going to be Scenario VR. And we say what that is compatible with. And so this will be we're going to be using the Quest version of it, and it's compatible with all the Quests, Quest 1 through Quest Pro available, and we'll add that in as an app. Once we've added that in, we need to upload a version for that app, and we need to select a content file. So we do that by first downloading that from Scenario VR, and that is at public.scenariovr.com builds. In this case, we're using the Quest version, so it's Quest Scenario VR.apk, but we also have Pico Scenario VR.apk and Focus 3 Scenario VR.apk. I've already got it downloaded, so I don't need to download it again. So I'll go ahead and do that, and I will browse for it, and it is in my downloads, and there it is, and we'll pull that in. And so there it is, and it'll upload that file. Okay, so that'll just take a few seconds to upload, and then it will configure that file, and that file will be available in our content library to add to our group. So now we've got it in, it's doing a few things, verifying, should be just fine, and there we go. So we've got that version in. Now we need to add some files. So these are going to be files that we will use, that are scenarios that we publish from Scenario VR. So let's go ahead and add a few files in. I'll go ahead and browse for some files, and we'll get those right there. And I'll pull those out of a directory here. And we're going to pull just a couple of files in. These are a few published scenarios. In this case, these are just some HTML published scenarios. But also an appconfig.json, very important file. That's the file we key on to know that we'll be using a local configuration. The other thing that's important is where those files are located. So they will be in the download directory, which is a standard directory on all Android devices, but in a directory called CVR local as well. So that is where these files all need to be in order for them to work with Scenario VR. So put that in, we've got the files, we've got the file location, we say upload. Then uploads each of those files and sets them up so that they will be synced into the download CVR local directory. Okay, so we've got our files set up to be synchronized. We're good to go. Let's go back to our group. Okay, and so we've got our device group, our ELB group, and there it is. Now, we need to add content. We'll add an app, and these are going to be all the apps that you have set up, and we just set up Scenario VR. So I think we'll use that one. Add that to the group. And then you set up files. And this is where we're going to add those files in that we just added in. So we'll select all of those files, and it knows what directory to put them in. And you add those to the group. So now those files are synced as well. And that is really all there is to it. At this point, it'll automatically synchronize to your device, the Quest Pro, all of those files that it comes across. You even get a location for where we are. It's very interesting. So let's now talk about the appconfig.json. So that is the file that we downloaded that it keys on. So that is a small file that has just a few parameters in it. And the first one is local mode. So if you set that to true, like it is here, what that is going to do is it'll disable the login. So you just when you open Scenario VR, it opens right into the list of applications that are available. Those will be just the applications that you've copied down and configured via your MDM. And if you do want those, if you are in local mode and you want those to report to an LRS, you can do that by putting things in XAPI config. And this will override anything that's in the published materials, and you can enable that and then give it an endpoint, LRS user and password, which is also known as a key and secret, and also the email of the user. You can even configure that, and it will not prompt the user for an email. You can automatically put that in as well.